Human history is not a straight line of progress. It is a graveyard of civilizations. Today we live in a world of satellites, artificial intelligence, and global networks. We often assume humanity is constantly moving forward. But history tells a much darker story. Long before our modern world existed, there were powerful societies that built massive cities, engineered complex infrastructure, and controlled vast trade routes across continents. They were advanced for their time. They were powerful. They believed their civilization would last forever. And then, they vanished. Not slowly, not gradually, but sometimes almost overnight. Cities were abandoned. Temples were left empty. Entire cultures disappeared, leaving behind only ruins, broken monuments, and unanswered questions. Today, we are exploring 10 ancient civilizations that disappeared without a trace. But this is not just a history lesson. Each story is a warning. Because the same forces that destroyed those ancient worlds may still be shaping our own future today. If you enjoy uncovering hidden history, forgotten mysteries, and dark warnings from the past, make sure you subscribe to Top 10 Untold, because here we explore the stories that history almost erased. Let's begin. Warning number 10. The Clovis culture, America's first lost civilization. About 13,000 years ago, long before modern nations existed in the Americas, a mysterious culture spread across North America. Today we call them the Clovis culture. They were not primitive tribes wandering randomly across the land. Archaeological discoveries suggest something far more organized. The Clovis people were highly skilled hunters and toolmakers. Their signature weapon, the Clovis spear point, was one of the most sophisticated stone tools ever created in prehistoric history. These spear points were carefully crafted with precise fluting techniques that required extraordinary skill. And here is the most fascinating part. Clovis artifacts have been discovered across thousands of miles from the American Southwest to the eastern United States and even parts of Canada. This means the Clovis people were not just a small group. They were a widespread culture dominating an entire continent. But around 12,800 years ago, something strange happened. The Clovis culture suddenly disappeared. Their distinctive tools stopped appearing in the archaeological record. Their settlements vanished. Their technology was never used again in the same way. It was as if this entire civilization simply collapsed overnight. Scientists have proposed several theories. One possibility is a dramatic climate shift at the end of the Ice Age. Another theory suggests a catastrophic event known as the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis, where fragments of a comet may have struck Earth, triggering massive fires, sudden cooling, and ecological collapse. If such a disaster occurred, it could have wiped out entire populations in a matter of years. But the truth is, no one knows exactly what happened. The Clovis people dominated a continent, and then they became a ghost in human history. The unsettling question is this: if a thriving culture can disappear so completely, how stable is our own civilization, really? Warning number 9. Cahokia, the American city that shouldn't exist. For centuries, historians believed that ancient North America never had large cities comparable to those of Egypt, Mesopotamia, or Mesoamerica. Then archaeologists discovered Cahokia, located near modern-day St. Louis. Cahokia was once the largest city north of Mexico. Around the year 1050 AD, Cahokia exploded into existence almost overnight. Within a few decades, it became a massive urban center. At its peak, the city had more than 20,000 residents, making it larger than London. At the same time, the city was built around enormous earthen pyramids, the largest of which Monk's Mound still towers over the landscape today. Cahokia had organized neighborhoods, trade networks stretching across North America, astronomical observatories, complex religious ceremonies. This was not a primitive society. This was a true civilization. And yet, by 1350 AD, the city was completely abandoned. No war destroyed it. No clear invasion wiped it out. People simply left. Archaeologists have found signs of social unrest, environmental damage, and possible drought. Overpopulation may have strained the land. Forests were cut down. Food shortages may have followed. Whatever the cause, the once powerful city slowly emptied. Today, Cahokia stands as a haunting reminder that even the most impressive societies can collapse not from a single disaster, but from a series of silent failures. And in the modern world, where cities depend on fragile systems of resources and infrastructure, that warning feels uncomfortably familiar. Warning number 8. The Anasazi, the vanishing builders of the American Southwest. In the deserts of the American Southwest, massive stone cities cling to the sides of cliffs. These structures look almost impossible, entire villages carved into canyon walls. They were built by a civilization we call the Anasazi, also known as the ancestral Puebloans. Between 700 AD and 1200 AD, the Anasazi built one of the most remarkable cultures in North America. They constructed vast settlements like Chaco Canyon and Mesa Verde. These cities had multi-story stone buildings, road systems connecting distant settlements, advanced farming techniques in harsh desert environments, sophisticated astronomical knowledge. Chaco Canyon in particular was extraordinary. Massive stone complexes were aligned with solar and lunar cycles. Hundreds of miles of engineered roads connected the region. For centuries, this society thrived in one of the most unforgiving landscapes on Earth. And then, around 1300 AD, the entire civilization began to disappear. The great cities were abandoned. Cliff dwellings were left empty. Road networks fell silent. Evidence suggests that a devastating megadrought struck the region, lasting decades. Food supplies collapsed. Communities fractured. People were forced to migrate. But here is the strange part. The Anasazi did not just relocate nearby. They scattered across the Southwest, leaving behind their great cities forever. Today, their descendants live among modern Pueblo communities. But the great stone cities remain empty, standing in silent deserts, as reminders that even the most resilient civilizations can be pushed beyond their limits by something as simple and as unstoppable as climate change. Warning number 7. The Hittite Empire, the superpower that collapsed overnight. Around 1600 BC, in what is now modern-day Turkey, a powerful empire rose to dominate the ancient Near East. This was the Hittite Empire. For centuries, the Hittites were one of the most powerful civilizations in the world. They rivaled ancient Egypt. They controlled key trade routes between Asia and Europe. They possessed advanced military technology, including one of the earliest and most effective uses of iron weapons. Their capital city, Hattusa, was a massive fortified metropolis filled with temples, palaces, and towering stone gates. The Hittites were not just warriors. They were skilled diplomats. In fact, the Treaty of Kadesh, signed between the Hittites and Egypt around 1259 BC, is considered one of the first peace treaties in human history. At that time, it seemed impossible that such a powerful empire could fall. But around 1200 BC, something catastrophic began sweeping across the ancient world. Historians call this period the Bronze Age collapse. In just a few decades, entire kingdoms were destroyed, trade networks vanished, cities were burned to the ground, and the Hittite Empire simply disappeared. Their capital city, Hattusa, was suddenly abandoned. No strong successor state replaced them. Within a short time, the once great empire was reduced to scattered ruins. Some historians believe invading groups known as the Sea Peoples played a role. Others suggest famine, internal rebellions, and climate disasters. But the most terrifying possibility is that multiple crises struck at the same time. Political instability, economic collapse, climate change, war. When these forces combined, even a superpower like the Hittites could not survive. And the warning here is chilling. Civilizations rarely collapse because of just one problem. They collapse when several crises happen at once. Warning number 6. The Nabatean civilization, masters of the desert who vanished. In the deserts of the Middle East lies one of the most breathtaking archaeological sites in the world. The ancient city of Petra. Carved directly into towering sandstone cliffs, Petra looks almost unreal, as if it belongs in mythology rather than history. But Petra was real, and it was built by a mysterious civilization known as the Nabateans. Around 300 BC, the Nabateans established a powerful kingdom controlling some of the most valuable trade routes in the ancient world. They transported incense, spices, and luxury goods between Arabia, Egypt, and the Mediterranean. This trade made them incredibly wealthy. But their true genius was something even more impressive: water engineering. The Nabateans developed complex systems of canals, reservoirs, and underground pipes that allowed them to control water in one of the driest environments on Earth. They turned the desert into a thriving civilization. Petra became a bustling capital city filled with temples, markets, tombs, and public buildings. For centuries, the Nabateans prospered. But then something strange happened. After the Roman Empire annexed Nabatea in 106 AD, Petra slowly began to decline. Trade routes shifted. Earthquakes damaged parts of the city. Economic power moved elsewhere. By the early medieval period, Petra was almost completely abandoned. The once powerful Nabatean civilization faded into obscurity. For hundreds of years, the city was so forgotten that Europeans didn't even know it existed. It wasn't rediscovered until 1812, when a Swiss explorer stumbled upon the hidden ruins. Imagine that, a once powerful civilization, so completely erased from history that the world forgot it ever existed. Warning number 5. The Minoan civilization, Europe's first great culture. Long before the rise of ancient Greece, there was another civilization dominating the Mediterranean. The Minoans. They lived on the island of Crete, and around 2000 BC, they created one of the most advanced cultures in the ancient world. The Minoans built enormous palace complexes like Gnosis, filled with colorful frescoes, sophisticated plumbing systems, and massive storage facilities. Their cities had running water and drainage systems thousands of years before many other civilizations. They were master sailors. Their ships controlled trade across the Mediterranean Sea. Unlike many ancient cultures, the Minoans appear to have been relatively peaceful. Their art shows scenes of festivals, nature, and sports rather than constant warfare. For centuries, they flourished. But around 1600 BC, disaster struck. A massive volcanic eruption occurred on the nearby island of Thera, modern-day Santorini. The explosion was one of the largest volcanic eruptions in recorded human history. The eruption triggered massive tsunamis, ash clouds covering the region, climate disruptions. Many historians believe this catastrophe severely weakened the Minoan civilization. Their cities were damaged. Their naval power collapsed. Trade networks were disrupted. Within the next few centuries, another rising power, the Mycenaeans, took control of Crete. The Minoan civilization faded away. What remains today are their mysterious palaces and beautiful artwork. But their downfall reminds us of something deeply unsettling. Sometimes, a single natural disaster can change the course of human history. Warning number 4. The Olmec civilization, the mother culture of Mesoamerica. Around 1500 BC, deep within the tropical forests of what is now southern Mexico, a mysterious civilization emerged. Today we call them the Olmecs. Many historians consider them the mother civilization of Mesoamerica, because later cultures like the Maya and Aztecs inherited many of their ideas. The Olmecs built ceremonial cities like San Lorenzo and La Venta. They developed early writing systems. They created complex religious traditions. But what made the Olmecs truly famous were their incredible sculptures. Gigantic stone heads, carved from massive basalt boulders, weighing up to 40 tons each. These colossal heads are some of the most mysterious artifacts in ancient history. Each face is unique. Each appears to represent a powerful ruler. But here's the strange part. Around 400 BC, the Olmec civilization simply disappeared. Their major cities were abandoned. Their monuments were buried in the jungle. And the culture that once shaped the future of Mesoamerica vanished almost completely. No clear record explains what happened. Some researchers suggest environmental damage. Others suspect internal conflicts. But the truth remains uncertain. And today, those giant stone heads still stare silently across the forests of Mexico, guarding the secrets of a civilization that history almost forgot. Warning number 3. The Indus Valley civilization, the perfect cities that were abandoned. Around 2600 BC, One of the most advanced civilizations on Earth emerged in what is now modern-day Pakistan and northwestern India. This was the Indus Valley civilization. At its peak, it covered an enormous region larger than ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia combined. Its major cities included Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro. What makes the Indus Valley civilization extraordinary is how organized and advanced it was. The cities were designed with perfect urban planning. Wide streets were arranged in grid patterns. Houses were built with standardized bricks. And perhaps most impressive of all, they had one of the earliest sanitation systems in human history. Almost every house had access to drainage systems and bathrooms connected to underground sewers. Even today, many ancient cities around the world did not achieve this level of urban planning. The Indus civilization also had long-distance trade networks reaching Mesopotamia, sophisticated crafts and metallurgy, a mysterious writing system that still has not been fully deciphered. For centuries, everything seemed stable. But around 1900 BC, the cities began to decline. Populations dropped. Trade networks collapsed. Urban centers were gradually abandoned. Unlike many ancient collapses, there is no clear evidence of invasion or massive war. Instead, researchers believe a combination of environmental changes may have triggered the collapse. Rivers shifted their courses. Floods and drought cycles disrupted agriculture. The once powerful urban civilization slowly dissolved into smaller rural communities. The cities were eventually left empty. For thousands of years, their ruins remained buried beneath the earth. Until archaeologists rediscovered them in the 1920s. Imagine that, an entire advanced civilization, forgotten for nearly 4,000 years. Hidden beneath the soil. Warning number 2. Tiwanaku, the lost civilization of the Andes. High in the mountains of modern-day Bolivia lies the mysterious ruins of Tiwanaku. At first glance, the site looks almost alien. Massive stone blocks, some weighing over 100 tons, precisely cut and fitted together. Monumental gateways carved with complex symbolic patterns. Advanced agricultural systems designed to survive harsh mountain climates. Around 500 AD, Tiwanaku became the center of one of the most powerful civilizations in South America. Their influence spread across huge parts of the Andes. But Tiwanaku's greatest innovation was its agriculture. They developed raised field farming, an advanced system that protected crops from freezing temperatures and floods. This allowed them to feed large populations in an extremely difficult environment. For centuries, Tiwanaku thrived. Its monumental architecture and cultural influence spread across the region. But around 1000 AD, the civilization suddenly began to collapse. Evidence suggests a prolonged megadrought struck the Andes. The raised field agricultural systems failed. Food production dropped. Political power weakened. And eventually, the once great city was abandoned. The population scattered across the region. Today, Tiwanaku's massive stone monuments still stand under the open sky. Silent witnesses to a civilization that once dominated the Andes and then vanished. Warning number 1. The Maya civilization, the cities that disappeared into the jungle. Perhaps the most famous lost civilization in history is the Maya. For over 2,000 years, the Maya built one of the most sophisticated cultures in the ancient world. Their cities rose across modern-day Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, and Honduras. Massive pyramid temples towered above dense jungles. Stone cities like Tikal, Copan, and Palenque flourished with tens of thousands of inhabitants. The Maya achieved astonishing intellectual achievements. They developed one of the most complex writing systems in the ancient Americas. They created incredibly accurate astronomical calendars. Their mathematicians used the concept of 0 centuries before it appeared in Europe. By every measure, the Maya were a highly advanced civilization. But around 800 to 900 AD, something extraordinary happened. Many of the greatest Maya cities were suddenly abandoned. Massive pyramids and palaces were left empty. Jungle vegetation slowly swallowed the once great urban centers. For centuries, explorers believed the Maya civilization had mysteriously vanished. But modern research suggests the collapse may have been caused by several combined factors. Severe droughts, environmental exhaustion, overpopulation, political warfare between city-states. When these pressures intensified at the same time, the urban system collapsed. However, the Maya people themselves never completely disappeared. Their descendants still live across Central America today. But the great cities that once dominated the region were left behind, consumed by the jungle. Looking at these 10 civilizations together reveals something deeply unsettling. The causes of collapse are often different. Sometimes it was climate change. Sometimes war. Sometimes environmental destruction, sometimes economic shifts. But one pattern appears again and again. Civilizations rarely fall from a single event. They collapse when multiple stresses hit at the same time. Environmental pressure, resource shortages, political instability, social conflict. When these forces combine, even the most powerful societies can unravel. And here is the uncomfortable truth. Modern civilization faces many of the same pressures today. Climate instability, resource competition, political tensions, global systems that are incredibly powerful yet also extremely fragile. History does not repeat itself perfectly. But it often rhymes. The ruins of lost civilizations are not just relics of the past. They are warnings for the future. If you enjoy exploring hidden history, forgotten civilizations, and the deeper lessons behind them, make sure you subscribe to Top 10 Untold. Because sometimes the past is the only place where we can clearly see the dangers of the future.